Hello, hello. Hope everyone is well. Here we go. This Tuesday we're going to be doing Wednesday. Cosmodium's already talked about that. We've been having chats about this all week, and we've been saying, are we doing Wednesday on Tuesday? Are we doing Wednesday on Thursday? Are we going to do X, Y, or Z? We did get lots of dates wrong, lots of days wrong. Also, by the way, if you can see me looking up, I've changed my monitor setup. I'm in the process of getting a third monitor. So I've got a monitor up here now. So I'm reading your chats up here from now on, at least for the time being. Yeah. Hey, Ollie, good to see you. Hey, Brandon. Hey, Cosmodium. Thank you all for joining us. Yeah, today's going to be a fun one. We're going to be recreating the theme from Wednesday by Danny Elfman and Chris Bacon, who does the score as well. And fun fact, this score is recorded in Budapest with Budapest Scoring Orchestra, Budapest Scoring, who we have recorded some libraries with and who we did our most recent course, Crafting the Score, with. We ended up recording the live orchestral elements of that in Budapest with the Budapest Scoring Orchestra. Incredible experience. We went over there. We were super lucky. Most of the time, people from all around the world work with the orchestra. They'll remote in on Zoom or whatever it might be. But we were really lucky that, we went over there because it was part of the course and we got to sort of see the setup, hear the players playing, there and then. Incredible orchestra, great musicians, great setup they have there. And they're doing some really, really, really cool stuff now, including working with Danny Elfman, and they've done recently Mission Impossible and Squid Game and other things like that. They've really been pretty active, and we've been very fortunate to do a few things with them as well over the years. So yeah, it's been really, really cool. Yes, I'm doing well. Sorry, by the way, Brandon. I'm used to looking by here for my messages. I have to keep remembering to look up here. Yes, I'm doing really good. I hope you guys all are as well. Yes, Ollie's back. We have, it was a pretty quiet week last week with the other Audio Imperia gang. They were all off doing their thing. But this week, I think most of us are sort of back and around, which is good. So there might be some more activity on the chat with the rest of the team, which will be fun. So yeah, this is going to be a cool one today. I think it's quite different to some of the other stuff that we've done. Composers like John Williams, John Powell, much bigger symphonic sound, often working at Abbey Road and places like that. Danny Elfman and this score is, and these kinds of scores are renowned for being a lot more dry sounding and immediate sounding. So it's going to be interesting to do this on some of these libraries and see what we come up with. Looking forward to some good news. Well, I hope you get that news soon. And is it summer in the UK? Well, technically it's autumn now, just turned autumn. Technically, our first day of autumn is the 1st of September. It's now, I have to look down, I forget the dates. It's the 9th of September. So we are in autumn now, and it does feel that way. We had a pretty hot summer for the UK over here. It's pretty dry too, but the last week or so, very wet. Temperatures have come down a lot, and it's definitely feeling more like autumn here now, which I don't mind. I quite like the autumn. Although the days seem to be long gone, it is just cloud and rain. Yeah, it's pretty miserable out there at the moment. It's actually not too bad today, but it's still nothing that great. So yeah, we're going to do the Wednesday theme. I think this is going to be a really fun one, and it's a great, as I say, Danny Elfman sound, much more immediate sound. He often mics things a lot closer. The orchestra feels a little bit more intimate, but still very big. And there's a lot of modern scoring techniques in here as well. So it's an interesting synthesis of modern scoring, old-fashioned scoring, and a very kind of gothic, kooky, eccentric sound that we all know from all these great Tim Burton projects. Hey, Peter, how are you doing? Thank you for joining us. Still fiddling around with my workstation, Brandon says. It's a lot of money, so I want to make sure I make the right choice before I order. I get where you're coming from 100%. My computer's getting on a bit now, so I'm going to have to, at some point, either replace it or start thinking about, upgrades and things. I'm probably going to have to replace it eventually. I do have a spare laptop, a laptop setup that I use sometimes. Wednesday theme. That's what we're doing. Yeah, it's going to be cool. We shall head over to the door in a moment and we shall take a look. I've already got some of this mocked up. Well, most of it mocked up with different pianos and things, and a couple of instruments as well. To save us some time. So I think it's just going to be a fun one today. We're just going to go through it. We're going to see what we can get done, and we're going to, see what techniques we can use to make the sound as good as possible. Okay, cool. I'm going to head over to our door and we shall sort of just begin, I guess. Hey, Symphonic, thank you for joining us. Lots of old instruments used in Wednesday too. Yeah, some classic sort of Danny Elfman style old instruments that have very distinctive sounds. Most of those I've already mocked up. We're actually using a couple of instruments that are not part of Audio Imperia today. We sometimes do that, don't we? We're using a harpsichord, which we haven't sampled yet. Maybe we need to cancel all our current projects and sample a harpsichord as an absolute priority, because clearly we're missing a harpsichord. We've also got a theremin in here. Now, a theremin is one of these, you might have seen it before. It's like a kind of long tube, and you can play it with your hand, and it makes this sort of woo, kind of weird, crazy sound. That was me doing a terrible theremin impression. It's an instrument that became really associated with like ghosts and UFOs and strangeness in the kind of 40s and 50s in the early TV and film world, and it's got a very retro quality, and Danny Elfman loves diving into that kind of stuff, so that's a really cool instrument as well. And yeah, harpsichord is the other big one in here that's sort of non-standard, shall we say. Let's listen to what we've got. I'm just going to show you what we have, and then we shall start mocking this up. We've already got a bit of this in place. Here's how it goes, and let me know if you want, guys, if this is too loud, too quiet, because I know that some people have said the music's a bit quiet, so I've sort of brought it up, but I also don't want to burst your eardrums. I have a limiter on this, so that's probably not going to happen, but just let me know if this is a good volume in comparison to my voice. So here we go, the Wednesday theme. Actually sounds pretty cool. It's just a piano, harpsichord, and theremin theme, right? You could kind of do it like that. It'd be pretty cool. But we're going to do it on the orchestra the way it's done, as close as possible to the TV show. We're not going to worry about getting absolutely exact, but we're going to try and definitely find that kind of vibe, you know, and get in that style. So yeah, it's going to be fun. As you can see, we've already got this harpsichord and we got the theremin. So these are the two instruments that I've mocked up. I've also done a little bit on the percussion. We're actually using a brushed kit from Native Instruments as well, but we've also got our Nucleus kit in there, which is playing a bigger role in the second half. So we're going to hear that too. First thing, how do you do these sketches? Do you get it from somewhere or painstakingly hear the music and make each layer? It depends. For this one, I painstakingly did each layer. So I recorded the track, I listened to the track a lot, I threw it in the door, and then I just worked it out bit by bit, which I used to do a lot of when I was younger, you know, way before it was easy to get sheet music and things. I just used to sit and listen for a long time and try and work out how old Star Wars scores were done or something like that, because it was really hard to access the music, and even if you could, it was like £100 to buy the sheet music or something. These days it's a lot more easy to access these things, but I didn't look too hard, but I couldn't find any Wednesday sheet music immediately available, and I don't have it with me, so we just sort of mocked it up. And as I said, it's probably not going to be 100% perfect, but I think we could work it out well enough to get the kind of, you know, the vibe and all the main elements and things. I actually don't hate the Contact Factory harpsichord. It is an old one, I think, and it's pretty good. When I loaded it up, because I didn't even realize I had a harpsichord, and I was like, oh, I haven't thought about this. Do I have a harpsichord? I found this one. I was like, sounds pretty good. I don't know what was used in the original mock-up, but might have been this one. It's not a million miles away. Rather than theremin, just use automaton. We should have done that. Oh, Brandon, that's a genius idea. Maybe we'll throw it in at the end or something, or we'll do an automaton only version of the mock-up. I didn't think of that. I didn't even think of automaton. What am I doing? I am not doing any Audio Imperial any favors here, because that is our flagship product, of course. It's the big one, the automaton. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you do. It's probably the most deeply sampled thing that we've ever done or ever will do. It's a work of genius, if I do say so myself. Okay, cool. Let's dive into this and just see where we get to. So it's going to be, we're probably going to use a rare. We may use a bit of Dolce to kind of get a little bit of sort of the intimacy element of this, but we're going to focus more on dry libraries and then maybe just augment them with some of the other libraries if we need to. But again, to capture that Danny Elfman sound, drier libraries works, I think. So, okay, let's start by looking at what we've got. We've got these low strings. So I know that probably a really good starting point here is going to be to get these low strings in here, we have these nice marcatos. So let's just start there. Okay, cool. So get those marcatos in. Cool. I think that's going to be the one. Marcato short. Already sounding pretty good. Oh, by the way, guys, I've set up workspaces on here at last. I hadn't done it for ages, but now if we want to skip to the mixer rather than me moving the window around and everything, we can super quickly get to the mixer. We can super quickly get here. We can super quickly get to different views, you know, so that's going to be really useful. It's a bit of a weird thing, so apologies if it's making your eyes go weird. I won't do it too much, but if we ever want to go to the mixer and things quickly to look at stuff, we can do that a lot easier. We can also do it this way as well, but you can't see everything you want to see sometimes. So yeah, that's going to be a useful thing as well. Just as an aside. Okay, let's get these in. Copy and paste these in our bases. I think we're going to want these down low. Okay. Nice. It's actually quite a good Elfman sound, really. And then copy these up here. And we're going to do the same thing in the cello, but just an octave higher. Very common technique. Cello and basses and octaves should sound pretty decent. Oh, if there's actually anything going to come through. Am I in the right lane here? Yeah. Okay. 1 second. Yeah, so maybe I'm just... Oh, I copy that up. That's what it is. Here we go. So copy them an octave higher. Sounds great. Okay, let's maybe just start muting these elements as we're going. Yeah, let's just mute these strings here. Adam, do you start with all your faders at 0 or do you bring them all down a bit before you start working? Let's have a look. In my main project, so yeah, most of these are actually at 0, but you can see, yeah, they're all pretty much at 0 here. I think usually in my main project, I actually turn them down about -3, -5, just to give a bit more headroom. But here I haven't done that. I really need to update this project though. It's a bit old and some of the libraries are not linked properly, and I really should spend a day just getting in and updating my Audio Imperia template. But it's a good question, and yes, very often even if I start with them at 0, I'm still going to have to bring them down to give some, hey Tom, yeah, to give some headroom. So yeah, that's usually, you know, because digital, it's so much easier to raise the volume on digital, but if everything is already peaking or close to peaking, that's when you can get trouble, when you try to come to master or mix things, or you're trying to get a bit more out of the percussion or something and everything's already close to 0. So it's a good idea just to bring everything down. You know, I aim for, prior to mastering, around -6, something like that dB as the full thing, when everything's playing, -6 dB being about the hottest, and then you've got 6 dB of headroom if you need to bring something up in the mix or you need to, you know, master it or something like that. Wednesday Adams, scored by Adam on a Tuesday. Yep. Yeah, we can be the Adam family. That's a bit weird. It sounds like a bit like a cult. Let's not be the Adam family. But you know what I mean. Also, it's very weird because, oh, she's actually gone now, but Jenna Ortega is on our wallpaper, obviously, because she's Wednesday. And she was staring down at me and I was getting a bit freaked out as I was writing this. Felt like she was being very judgmental. But I guess that's the whole vibe of Wednesday, really. Okay, let's get the next most important element in here, which is going to be our solo cello. So common technique for these kinds of gothic horror sort of things is this intimate sound. You know, you don't want it to be too Star Wars like a big symphony, because that sounds too epic and too distant and too, you know, almost otherworldly. With this stuff, it's all very intimate and like it's in a small little room, you know, and solo instruments are really great at adding that extra layer of intimacy. Used to great effect in this theme. Adam's thing doing the score today. Yeah, my thing. I should have like filtered everything out but my hands, so it just looked like the thing was doing the maybe we can do that in some short. We'll get a special effect on there. If only you had Adam speakers. I know I should get some. They're really good, but I don't. I have JBLs and I need to treat this room at some point because I still haven't done that yet. That's on my list. Okay, So solo cello, let's just get this in the solo cello and see what we've got, because we're going to need to do some work on this. Yeah, okay, this is where we're going to need to do some programming. So I think we do want these little breaks, but these connecting notes are going to be joined up, and then we're probably going to duplicate and combine this with a spiccato patch from the solo library, just to give it a little bit more edge, because the cello in this is very sort of playful and very kind of you know, just a bit more kind of digging in. The solo cello in solo is designed, this is actually the solo cello in solo. I need to change this. So this is not nucleus, this is solo cello, but it's designed to be very expressive and more lyrical. We're using it here to be a bit more playful and a bit more abrupt, so we may need to do some work to get that. Doesn't sound too bad though. Okay, that's pretty good, but let's duplicate that. So yeah, do this. I'm trying to learn all my new key commands that I've set up, and it's taking a while. Let's just do solo cello. We do have a spiccato in here as well. Let's change that to a spiccato, and then we'll see where we're at. Let's just close that. Make that easier to see. Just a little different than the OG. Cool, I think that's going to work, but obviously that's a bit loud. Nice. I think that's going to kind of do it, and we can just do a little bit of... I think that will sound pretty good. Yeah, that's actually come together. Ooh, don't want to keep almost closing the project down, so I've got all these key commands. I need to be careful of doing that. Apologies in advance if I close the project down. Okay, let's listen to that in context. Cool. Let me just... I think we're probably running a bit hot on that limit, so let's bring that down just a couple of dBs and then return back. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's, oh, we don't want to close that harpsichord. That needs to be in there. Let's get our high strings in here. And then start seeing where we're at with those. So let's just put these on violins 1 to start with. It's all going to be shorts at this point. And I think I'm going to double these with Dolce just to get a kind of interesting sort of sound going on here. So let's have a little listen to these. Just mute the pianos. Yeah, we're going to want everything to be a little bit more intense than that. It's being played quite sort of off the bow, you know, which is what, you know, when they're digging down quite a bit on the bow and they're really getting like a springy kind of action to the... Nice, okay, that's cool. And we'll start shaping this cello down here. It's sounding a little bit intense at the moment. Let's just bring it down a tiny bit in general, and then we'll also sort of shape it with a bit of volume automation as well. Okay, that's a bit better. Nice. Okay, this is starting to come together nicely. Just want to bring everything up at that point here. This is a very Danny Elfman moment here with these strings. Hello, thank you for joining us. When would one use legato and when to not use it? It's a great question from Cosmodium. The way that I would think about it is that there's hundreds and hundreds of different ways that you could play any given instrument, especially a string instrument. No sample library is ever going to capture all those ways. You know, you could do thousands of different types of shorts, or maybe hundreds, and then, you know, lots of different types of longs, and a truly phrased line on a instrument is usually going to be a combination of legato, marcato, you know, spiccato. If you ever hear a violinist play, or anybody in the orchestra play, the amount of phrasing they use is astronomical. That's what makes it sound so realistic. We don't have that flexibility with sample libraries. We can certainly, you know, switch between different articulations and get some variety, but we're never going to get 100% smooth transitions. So my general thing would be, if you have a flowing line, if you have a line where the most important thing is the flow and the kind of emotion and the lyricism of it, that's when I would think about using legato with virtual instruments. If you're thinking more about something that has attack or separation, that's when you maybe don't want to use legato, or you want to combine legato with other articulations to try and create more phrasing. Yeah, so it's a difficult question because it very much depends on the context, but I would say it's one of those things where, yeah, definitely for lyrical lines with virtual instruments, you nearly always want to use legato. Sustains will maybe sound a little bit blurry or indistinct. And shorts or something like that usually won't work. Maybe use a marcato at the beginning of a line to give that a bit more attack or something. Yeah, so we're sharing the MIDI files on Discord at the moment. With the Cubase files, they're just too big to get on Discord, so I'm going to have to look for a place that I can put them more permanently. I'm sure we'll find something, whether it's Dropbox or some other system, but we are looking into that. In the meantime, the MIDI files are on Discord, or some of them. I think we've uploaded about 2/3 of them, and I'll get the rest up ASAP, which shouldn't be too long. But yes, I will also get onto the CPR files and see if I can share them too. Nice, so this is sounding pretty good. What I do want to do though, you know what, I'm actually just going to be lazy and just keep all this on the first violins. We don't really need to go worrying about creating separate patches and things. That's sounding pretty good. Let me just bring that down a little bit though. This is not really anything, you know, it's not played at like triple F. It's not like a big, huge symphony orchestra playing. It's a smaller orchestra, a little bit more playful. So it's not sounding too bad. We'll do a little bit of phrasing. We just want those first little downbeats to have a bit more accent. Yeah, carry on with that. That'll do there. And then we've got to get to that second part where we've got to do something different, which I will show you. Nice, so we'll probably put some random velocity in there as well, and we will just bring them up slightly with the overall velocity, give them a bit more attack. And what I'm also going to do is just put this on Dolce, I think. We'll see if we need it, but I think that's just going to add a bit more. Dolce actually has some really great shorts. I think it's going to be the spiccato. It might end up being the energetic shorts, or maybe a combination of the both. Just wait for a second for this to load up. Okay, there we go. Nice, so... yeah, I think that's going to add a bit more to that line. So let's listen to those in combination. Nice, yeah, I think that works. Now this little section here is going to be trills for the first part. So we're going to just sort of cut these and move all these, do what we need to do here. So I'm going to copy this, I'm going to turn that into shorts, and then the other ones will be trills. I'm just going to do everything on separate instrument articulations here and there. So copy this down. I'm going to call that spiccato fast, which is what it is. And this is going to be halftone trills, which we have in Array and Dolce too. Okay, halftone trills. There they are. So we don't need... I just put a little marker in the MIDI that this was going to be... We don't need to do these two together because I'm only using one note trill. Let's make sure we have some... Yep, that sounds good to me. Nice. This is another sort of quintessential thing of the Danny Elfman, Tim Burton kind of gothic horror thing. These trills, we'll get plenty on the Woodwinds as well, which I haven't really mocked up. We'll put them in as we need them. But lots of trills, ornamental flourishes, things that just add sort of life and creepiness and undulation to these things. So we're going to be using a fair amount of trills through this. But this little line here, we're probably going to use a combination of a few different things. So sounds a bit weird. Let's move that up to our performance legato and we can get that going. Okay. And that's just going to be that note there. So I'm probably going to double this on Dolce as well. I need to be a little bit higher than that even. There we go. I am keeping an eye. Hello, Adrian. Thank you for joining us. Cool, sounding good. Do I have something that isn't? That should be short there. Yeah, I had a bar top pits going on there, I think, which you might use as well. But let's open it. Okay, not too bad. Now we need to overlap these. That's what's causing the issue there. Nice. So just that little moment there, and then we're also going to copy that into... let's take this, duplicate that. Probably going to use maybe Mercato short here, just to give that first note a bit of attack. So let me show you what I mean here. Move that up here. Mercato short. This is where we can just use different articulations layered together to create a little bit more definition than any one would alone. And this is why I wanted to mock some of this up today in advance, you know, some of the theremin and things, so we could spend more time programming, because usually we don't have much time to program because we're just too busy sort of trying to get everything done. Yep, so that's not sounding too bad. Okay. And then I think also we're going to get this on the Dolce Mercato, which I may have to... I don't think I actually... let's just use... Yeah, I'm being super lazy today. I actually don't have it set up in the first violins, but I do in the second. I don't know why. We'll just use the second because this is like a layer, you know, we're not using it on its own. So we're not making this sort of the focus. But it has great attack, these lines. We do want to get rid of those overlaps though. There we go. And then we just... That's going to go back to the trills. So we'll probably use the Dolce trills as well there to really get an extra layer. So let's have a little listen to all of that. Nice. Turn that down a bit. I think that'll work with everything else in context, but we can tidy up as we go. And then we go back to the trills there as well. So, there we go. There we go. Nice. And then I think we'll also use, let's just use the Dolce 2s again. We have halftone trills in Dolce 2. Why do I feel like Dolce is very quiet and soft? We were talking about this in the Discord. It's simply the way, because it was a collaboration with Performance Samples, the way that we sort of combined our different workflows, they tend to be slightly quieter. It's not literally, it's just a volume difference. It's not that they've been recorded quietly. It's just that they're not sort of cleaned up as much, if you like, and raised, be normalized. There's all kind of different processing things that you can do to make samples sound certain ways or to clean them up and so on. Some sample developers like to do a lot of cleaning and a lot of normalizing and really get everything very, very even. Others like to keep things more natural and to keep things with a bit more kind of space and sort of natural energy. And Dolce leans on that side of things more, which is why it's quiet. And literally, you can just turn it up. You can just turn it up using gain to get it to the rest of the libraries. It will be a tiny bit noisier than a lot of other libraries because, again, it's been captured very naturally and hasn't been sort of processed too much, because we just want to keep all that beautiful kind of room sound and stuff. So it is going to be slightly noisier than some other libraries, but not excessively so. It's still totally usable. If you really, really wanted to, you could probably do some noise cleaning up, but I never do. I've never ever felt the need to do that. And all I do to get Dolce up to the rest of the instruments is just turn them up. I just have a gain control here. You guys can see, I think. And if I just need to add some extra gain, I can just say, oh, I need another 5 dB of gain or something, and then it'll come up to the same spec as Araya, and it'll be fine. But it's all to do with different recording and processing methodologies. And because this was a collaboration, we sort of changed things very slightly to how we do things entirely on our own. But it's not been recorded in a way that's quiet or anything like that. It's just a completely different sort of approach. But yeah, just turn them up and they will more than work. Hello, Mario. So I hope that answers the question, because we were talking about this in Discord, and I understand people might be confused, but yeah, it's just one of those things. Let me just very quickly. Cool. I'm just checking my phone just in case. You never know when you've got someone coming through demanding something, or not demanding, but asking something. So I just need to make sure I'm not missing an important message, but I'm not. No one needs me that much. I'm not that important. Okay. So let's just get that back in here. I don't know if it's that, was it that octave? Nice, that sounds really cool. I'm just going to do a little bit of programming here. Just sort of like a dip and then a rise, give this a bit of life there. Nice, okay, that's sounding pretty good. Oh, yeah, we'll just keep going through this. And then that is going to be... think. Let me just have a look. So on the strings there, what do we have going on? Yeah, so we're going to want just a little spiccato moment there, I think. Let's find our spiccato. There it is. And then I think we're going to go back to the mark short just for that little section there. So, yeah, in fact, we're probably going to use a long marcato there. So I'm just going to change this to a long marcato. Yeah, do that. Create that down. Once we got this set up, I'll clean up the project template and then we'll just get writing faster then. We're just sort of going through this initial process of figuring out what articulations we need and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to go down there. We're going to rename this marcato long, and then we're going to open it up and change it to that. And I think that will sound good. So yeah, we've got something going with these violins. We've used a few different articulations, and I just open up the Dolce ones as well. Looking good. Have a listen to how this sounds now with a quick bit of programming and stuff. Yeah, so that's come together quite nicely. We'll do a bit more work as we get the rest of the stuff in. That's going to be on our... well, here's a good example of what we were talking about Cosmodium with legato. Because this is a line that has more of a flow, I'm naturally going to probably put this on legato. And then if I needed to swap any individual notes out or start the phrase with a marcato, which I might do here, let me show you. So let's just say, yeah, I'm going to start just the first note with a marcato here, just to give it a bit more attack. So here's the line with just the performance legato. And I'm just adding on the first note a bit of definition with the marcato. And together they should blend with the rest of the orchestra to sound like a legato with a bit more attack in the beginning. Cool. Let's have a look at the rest of this. Nice, that's coming together. You'll notice again, another part of the creepy vibe of this is a lot of this is based on kind of Baroque music. If you know music from kind of the 17th century, known these days as Baroque music, it's all that classic, you know, harpsichord and gentle strings. If you think of the Four Seasons and things like that, I think it's a really clever thing to base this on Baroque music because that gives it a sense of being old, you know, and kind of ancient and a bit otherworldly almost. But it also is the kind of music you associate with like old stately homes, you know, like all these old homes that back then would have been beautiful and incredible. These days almost feel a bit haunted and weird. And of course that plays into the idea of the Addams Family and the mansion and so on and so forth. Yeah, so it's a really interesting technique. Again, this is an interesting thing you can do with music, right? You can evoke other time periods or evoke certain cultural or stylistic ideas as a way of making connections emotionally. So the idea of this old sort of family that live in this sort of stately, otherworldly, archaic kind of time, you know, this is sort of typified by this sound, and Danny Elfman uses this a lot. So does Tim Burton. He uses a lot of gothic feeling stuff, but modern, you know, set in the modern day, but gothic sensibilities. Do legatos sound good for high BPM melodies, or do you advise something else? Because for some instruments, before it even starts sounding, the next note's already appeared. I agree. Yes, generally speaking, if something's very, very fast, you may want to look at using a short or a combination of the two. Some legatos are built in such a way that they're quite agile. Others are not. So it's a case of knowing the library you're working with. We actually did a video, a Harry Potter video, a few days ago, where we were talking about 5 tricks to sound more magical, but one of the tricks was doing a really fast string run, and we actually used Array for that, and it came out great. We also used Dolce and a few other tips as well, but that's a good example of even very fast legato, how you can still use something like Array to do that stuff. So that's a video worth checking out because it shows you kind of what can be done when you're playing super, super fast. These are like 30-second notes, really, really fast. Gareth, hey everyone, just joined. Is that a theremin? I just said yes. I've been using theremin on a rescore of Tutenstein. I've been working on for a ThinkSpace assignment. That's awesome. It is a theremin. This is just a synth theremin. I just found it in Phase Plant, maybe. I think it's actually 2 things I've got together. One of them is this synth emulation theremin, and then the other is something from Pigments that I found. So I just combined them together, did a little bit of, you know, treating. Just sound like a really good old-fashioned kooky vibe, you know. Again, Tim Burton, really good at like mixing, like I said, the Baroque stuff, the 40s, 50s, 60s, like serial TV stuff, you know. Very clever mishmash of different times. And it works really well. You know, it kind of feels timeless in some ways because of that. Okay, what we need to do now is get these longer notes onto sustain patches rather than marcatos. The marcatos work great in the beginning, but as we go further through, we need to be able to sustain these for longer. So we'll just use simple sustains. We don't need to use legato. There's nothing really legato about any of this. So let's just move that down there. That should sound better now. And let me just put sus. Try and keep everything sort of... do all the housekeeping, as we say. Maybe I'll eventually set up a template that has every articulation on a separate thing, but this is an okay way to work for now. That's not a sus though, is it? That's a Bartok Pitts. I'm going to put some Bartok Pittses in because it's very, very sort of Danny Elfman, Tim Burton sound. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, I think I know what I'm doing here. I think these lower notes are obviously for the basses, so they're triggering the key switches. That's what it is. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing here. Cut this. I'm going to duplicate this down and make this a sustain patch. And then we've got most of the string stuff kind of done, really, I think. There's not a lot, we'll probably fill in some stuff with some violas and make some programming, you know, changes and things. There's actually not a ton of stuff going on. And we've got most of the kind of most characterful elements. So Okay, we'll do the basses and octaves. Oh, we'll see how that sounds. Where are my basses? Hold on a second. Oh, that's I got that sort of. Oh, I'm really not with it today. Yeah, nice. Okay. So let's have a listen to those in context. Nice. Same thing here. We're going to need to go back to these sustains. So let's just put them on there, and them on there. Take those bottom notes out. Have a listen to that. I like that. I love the way they actually sound on those Mercato shorts. I think that's really cool. Where was it here? And I think these are actually Mercato shorts, aren't they? Not spiccatos. So Mercato short. We've done it again. Keep changing this. Oh no, Mercato short. There it is. Okay, and then just make sure we're in the right key here. So we're going to want, not key, right? Octave. God, we're not making any sense today. There we go. Great example of just how one well-made patch, we don't need to worry about going between different, you know, it just sounds great like this. And then, oh, keep changing back. These are VSS patches at the end. Get rid of all them. Go back and make sure that's Mercato short. Okay, that should not happen. Okay, there we go. Danny loves to utilize chord planing. 100%. We're going to talk about that soon. Chord planing is that kind of movement, you know, between different chords, and the way he does that. A lot of minors. Sometimes it's kind of chromatic mediants, but very often it's just non-diatonic movement. Kind of does what he wants, but it just sounds great. Okay, cool. Where? Oh. Yep, just change that back and make sure once and for all that we don't keep going to the Bartok pizzas. Okay. Nice. Link all those together so I can just do some easy programming if I need to sort of reference everything. That's better. Okay, let's have a little listen where we're at. I think we're sort of making pretty good time on this. You know, we've got most of the basic stuff in. Nice. Yeah, that's setting pretty good for the strings for now. We will leave that. I think we're going to come on to the choir. Now, I'm thinking maybe the nucleus choir. Obviously, chorus is much more powerful in terms of the range of things available, and we may end up shifting to chorus. But actually, nucleus is a bit more of an intimate choir, and I think it might work better for this. I'm not sure. This could all not work, but let's try the nucleus choir. Sometimes the nucleus choir is just so good, you know, for certain things. So this may be one of those situations where this is the one that we want and need. Okay. Let me just bring this up here a second. I'm just going to let's change that there. Okay, cool. Just going to duplicate that down. That just can't really not with it today, guys. There we go. Duplicate that down. There we go. And I'm going to close that up. And I'm just going to, actually, before I close that up, I'm going to change this. I think it's just women. Let's just use the mixed choir for now, because that might be enough. Okay, so cool. Get rid of that one. And then let's just pop this in and see what we think, see if this is sounding good. I think it's just female choir. I think it's going to sound a bit strange with the men in there as well. And we do have the splits as well as the... So maybe we'll do the sopranos and the altos as well. We'll see. Might not even need that. So let's see. Yeah, maybe we'll do... Duplicate that down. There we go. And then maybe we'll do the altos as well. Okay, nucleus, do the altos, and then we can just sort of fix them up as we need to. I love chromatic medians. Double chromatic medians are cool too, but I find I don't use them as much. I don't know if I'd already read that message or not, but it's very true. It's a very cool technique. That's cool, I think. So I may just use chorus for that line there, just the one where it gets a little bit more operatic. So if I just bring in probably just these traditional arts, I think, yeah. And then we'll just use that for that line there, because it doesn't quite work on nucleus as well as I think it could do on chorus. We can, of course, legato those. That's going to be the real advantage here. And they're going to be quite quiet. That's the thing, right? We want more dynamic range here because they're going to be more... if I can actually get that to work. Let's take a look. I need to reload. Again, I've got the old chorus in here and it's not quite the right one. This one should work. That'll take a second to load up. Yeah, so this is coming together quite well. Again, choir, very, very, very sort of... hallmark of the Danny Elfman, Tim Burton thing, but a smaller, more intimate choir. It's not Duel of the Fates. It's like 8 or 12 maybe singers, you know, very intimate, singing a lot more of a kind of modern, wavering, soprano-y sort of sound, you know, vibrato and things like that. Very distinctive kind of sound. Okay, so maybe it's ooh that we want instead of ah. I don't know. Let's try it. Yeah, I think it could be. Let's just leave that there. See what we think. Yeah, maybe the ooh, because then we can bring it up. Cool. we're going to do a bit of work on those, but they're in and they're sounding not too bad. Bring them down a tiny bit here. And we'll add a bit of reverb to them as well. Let me go to my other workspace here. We can just come in. We're going to want a bit of reverb to these. We don't want them to be sort of washed out too much, but we're definitely going to want a little bit of reverb, I think. So let's just pop that in there. I think that should work. And let me just make sure they're also going to the same place. So open this up. They're going to vocals all. Okay, I'm just going to move them over to chorus. So we've got everything going through that chorus bus. And then we should get the reverb on everything. Chorus. Let's have a listen. Yeah, nice. We want to get this balance right. We don't want it to be washed in too much. Sort of more maybe like that. So we can take that off there, and then we're sort of getting some with this. Let's maybe look at there's some synths in this, kind of subtle. Again, it's quite a lot of synths in this, but you wouldn't necessarily hear them instantly. It's almost when you listen a bit closer, you think, oh, of course, they're there. You know, it's very obvious when you hear them, but if you don't listen sort of carefully, you might be forgiven for thinking they're not there. So I think it's actually a really aggressive synth, and it's a very interesting blend of the modern sound design. What I'm going to do now is come across here and just do viz data. We're going to get rid of everything we're not using, and then one by one we'll find the instruments that we want, so we can make a nice clearer template here now. So I'm going to want the photosynthesis. Just take one of our photosynthesis elements here. I'm going to enable that, and then we're going to look for, we've got a couple of aggressive sort of sounds which may work. This is going to add a lot. Again, it's funny, I was doing a trailer piece yesterday, and it always strikes me just how much sort of synth elements you have to get in, and how much of the frequency spectrum you have to fill to get things to sound kind of modern these days. And that's true even in something like this, which sounds very not synthy in the beginning, but when you listen to it actually is. I don't know what we're going to use here, probably a combination of a few things. Let's have a listen to this. Does this work? And well, it doesn't, because yeah, maybe not that. That might be a bit too intense. Got to find something. Is it going to be a bass, or is it going to be something from here? Let's take a little listen. What do we have here? It's not that. We're going to have to find something that works. Maybe the Prowler, if I remember rightly. That's pretty aggressive. Let me just make this a bit smaller. Like this, and then yeah, that might be the one. Sounds very aggressive on its own. When we mix it in, it's going to kind of work. So let's have a listen with the strings. Cool, that's actually sounding pretty good. Make all those a bit shorter. And we're just going to use a little bit of EQ here, just to sort of take it some of those muddier mids. So maybe something like neutron. Just get that in there. It's a very cool library. Okay. Let's just very quickly add some automation, or not automation, sorry, some modulation here, so we're making sure we're capturing these. Okay. Cool, and same here. we'll just increase the volume of these at the beginning. Sort of automate these as we need to. Same here. Okay. Now we'll add some reverb. It's too sort of dry at the moment. So get a fair bit of reverb in there. Let me just bring this up a bit so I can see it all as well. Maybe around there, something like that. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Cool. Let's get this brass in because that's going to add quite a bit as well, and then we can start to sort of polish this up. There we go. Okay, so we've got brass sort of starting here. If I just cut this bit by bit, we'll put it where we think it needs to go. Do we have, so if I find Talos, I find the low brass. I can't remember. I can never really remember if we do have a crescendo. Yeah, that's what we kind of want. But even that's too long. So what I might do is this. I'm going to... Yeah, what I'm going to do is this. Let me show you. Gonna elongate these out. Give me a bit of space. And then I'm going to record them in place. Let me just make sure they're capturing. Yeah, nice. Okay. So we're rendered with the current settings. Now what I can do is time these to fit. We want it to end there. Pretty simple thing that you can do inside of Cubase here is just use this time stretch. In this case, time condensing. And it should sound all right. Yeah, nice. That sounds good. And I can just copy and paste that one over now. So that should work. Cool. Sounding pretty good. Same thing here, right? Condense this down. Need that to be a little bit shorter. Maybe around there. Yeah, not too bad. And then, you know, they fit nicely then. We can probably just sort of overlay them with something else to give them a bit more of a natural sound. And we'll use a little bit of reverb on these as well. Again, not too much because all the Danny Elfman stuff's pretty dry, but we do want a little bit of room sort of tone, I think. Okay. So we have... Cool. That's working pretty well, I think. Yeah, they're quite abrupt, so we'll do some reverb on them, but that's for later. Okay, and now we shall go back to this Talos, and we shall keep going. just doing kind of like a low brass sound here. We'll probably use some tuba as well. We'll see if we need it. So we obviously want to put them back to sustain, which we have here. I think we're probably just going to use these for the lowest notes. These we'll do on trombones and maybe horns as well. So let's have a listen to all of that. Now we don't want this to be too, it's got to be kind of playful, right? If it's triple F, it's just going to sound kind of silly. So maybe more like this. Maybe just at the end there. Do lower there. Nice. And we'll just do that. We could probably even put that in a Maccato if we get time at the end. That down. Cool. Okay. Let's put that on the tuba as well. And maybe on the low trombones as well, we'll see. But let's just do all that on the tuba, pretty much exactly as is written there. It should work fine, I think. And the tuba may be our primary sort of focus here, we'll see. Because the low brass may be a little bit too epic, you know, it may be a bit too much. Okay, let's just keep going with this. Let's mute these for the moment, and we'll bring our trombones in. So use the Jaeger trombones, see how they sound. We'll come back in here, we'll grab our brass again from this point, and we'll just sort of get the upper brass in now. Let's go down, there we go. Just a little bit of okay, let's have a listen to that. Yeah, we're going to want them quieter. Quieter, quieter, quieter. And I think I'm going to change this to the R, not the oo. The oo is good, but it's not quite piercing through the way it should. And then bring it down a little bit in intensity. These trombones are so powerful, we never really want to get quite up there. Again, this is quite playful, so we don't want to go too intense. That's a bit more like it. We'll just bring them down quicker. Just need more of a kind of fade down to right there. And we're going to bring that up. Do that with simple gain here, so I got a bit of headroom. Okay. Okay. Okay, we just do a little bit of automation, or I keep saying automation, what I mean is modulation here, just to get the second half of these notes backed off a bit so they don't sound too intense when they come in. Here we go, same thing there. See what we're doing? So we're doing this, so listen. See how we're just coming down a bit there, makes a nice sort of less intense second half. Thank you, Cosmodium. Yeah, this is a good fun one. Wasn't one that I'd thought of doing, and then someone suggested it, and I was like, yeah, it's a great idea. Cool, that's good. That's just giving us a little bit more. What I can do now is just copy these, paste them over. No need to do it over and over again. I just think we don't want to go quite that much, so use this tool, get everything a little bit closer. And then this section at the end, it just sort of backs down towards the end there. Something like that. And same thing here, we'll just copy all that over to the altos as well. Make sure that they're doing the same thing. Nice, there we go. How long does it take to make the initial sketches? So this one took about an hour and a half today, I think. Maybe 2 hours altogether. Probably about 2 hours. But I started it this morning, had a listen last night to the Wednesday theme, so I hadn't actually heard it that much. And then, yeah, did it this morning, and didn't take too long, about 2 hours. But as I said, I used to do this quite a lot when I was younger, and I used to enjoy it. So it's not something that, you know, it's something I've done over the years, is transcribe a lot and try and figure things out. And it's definitely not complete. I'm sure we're going to make loads of mistakes and things, but it's kind of roughly there. Okay, so what I want to do now is there's some really distinctive trumpets in this, which we're definitely going to want to get in. So beautiful Jaeger trumpets sound great. Just find where these trumpets are. So let's put them to sustain. We don't need any legatos for the trumpets here, I don't think. So be quiet in the beginning. That there is where there's some really nice trumpets, just those top three notes. Very Tim Burton, these trumpets. They sound really good. Or Danny Elfman, Tim Burton. Something like that. Let's have a listen to that in context. Nice. And I'm going to mix this up because why not? We can do this. I'm going to take the horns, but I'm going to use the horns from Poseidon because Poseidon was recorded in this room. You know, it makes total sense, right? I mean, this track was literally recorded in the same room as Poseidon, so it makes complete sense to use it. And it's just going to add a kind of spatial, like a kind of depth to it. These horns are not really focusing, you know, they're not the focus at any point, but I think they'll add a lot. So I'm going to actually have to open context 7. And then go to Poseidon, and then we'll just use the Poseidon core articulations, probably just the sustains, and there'll just be a layer, but they'll add a bit of room sound that's, you know, like the room inside of or used in the Wednesday soundtrack. It's probably mixed very differently or slightly differently, but it doesn't matter. I mean, we're going to get the character of the room, and in combination with the drier stuff from Jaeger and Nucleus, I think it's all going to work. So nice. Let's just pop all that. Let's do these here. Let's see what we end up with here. So rename that sine and two horns core. Let's have a listen in isolation first. Okay, that's going to work, I think. Let's have a little listen to the whole brass. There's so much warmth in Poseidon and in that room. Listen to When I Take It Out. It just, you know, still sounds great, but it's a lot drier. And when you've got an intimate sort of orchestra, you want a little bit more warmth in there. So listen. Really, really good. And they blend great together, right? You don't really have to do too much. You know, we probably maybe do a little bit of EQ or a little bit of reverb to put things. But I think that sounds very convincing as a kind of, you know, solid ensemble. Hey, Nosferatu. And that's going to add all this lovely sort of mid-range resonance that we kind of want in this piece. Let's just fix up the rest of this brass in isolation here. So the trombones here do a kind of slide up, and I'm not entirely sure how we're going to replicate that here. I've got an idea of maybe how we can do it, but what we're going to want here is these trombones to be a lot more, they go sort of, they got this kind of... and I think that repeats there. So, is it there? See how we can make that work. Probably not going to be quite that intense. That's actually just the ones. Yeah, that makes sense. Do a little bit, just simple volume sort of automation here. Or not volume, sorry. Yeah, keep standing around. Dynamics. Okay, not sounding too bad. We'll get rid of this brass here now. The piano sketch, we don't need that. And we don't need the synth sketch either. And then we sort of got pretty much everything in place apart from woodwinds, and then some tidying up, some adding of percussion and things like that. We'll see how that goes. What we want to do here is the solo cello should be, this is all overlapped. Again, we want to make this flowing, otherwise it just won't sound right. I'm very good, Pecan. How are you? Okay. Don't want them to be too loud. The main instrument is either the harpsichord or the theremin, which is literally just a synth theremin that I put on this here. Oh. I've just made it using two simple, I've got pigments, I've got this ondulum setting, which is doing this. It's kind of gliding up, so it makes this really weird sound. And then this simple DCO emulation with a theremin sound here. Thank you, Brandon. We will just increase slightly. Now what I'm going to do now is synth bass is quite an important part of this, or at least low end excitement, to give it that really rich full sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this bass here. In fact, I'm going to have to take two of them, aren't I? But I've got a sub bass setup. It's literally the most simple sub. You guys have probably seen this before. Just made it in Vital, and I will. Somebody has asked me about putting this patch on Discord, which I can do. I can also walk you through how to make it. It's literally the easiest patch. Look, it's a sine wave. That's all it is with a bit of filter. But that filter's not even really doing anything. Let's get down there. It's all you need to do something like this. But it's going to add so much. Let me just add it in. What I'm going to do is make sure we only have one line playing at a time. It's not a polyphonic instrument. And then I need to come in here, do the same thing. Copy that down, pop that in there, glue it all together, and then just take out these higher notes, which we don't need. It's all monophonic. So that should now right, it's like it's the simplest sound on planet Earth, but without it, modern stuff doesn't really function. Nice. And the only thing you have to do with whenever you do a sub bass, and again, if you come from the trailer wheel, this is really important. You have to like match the envelope of the sub bass to the envelope of the piece. So what I mean by that is this. At the moment, you can see the envelope we have has no decay, so it's just kind of, it gets to the top and then it plays a constant volume until I let go, and then it has a tiny bit of release, but not much. It does look like Serum, but this is free. You can download this for free. There's a free version. So what I'm going to do is this, right? I'm going to expand the decay and take the sustain down. Now watch what this does. We can match this out. So let me show you what I'm doing. See how it's coming down to match that envelope. So it's going to fit more the flow of the strings. It's going to be like a heart attack and then coming down, which will make it bed in more. Cool, so we got most of this in. We just need to make sure that sub bass is working. Probably what I'm also going to do as well is this. I'm going to duplicate this, just this track, not going to use any of the data. I'm also going to use a simple saw sound here. So I have, let me just call it S saw. I've got a patch ready to go that I use quite a lot, super saw. I'm just going to copy what's down here onto that. So now we used to have just this. Nice, but I'm going to take all that down. Actually, I'm going to keep it. And just make sure that's volumed in. I'm just going to decapitate that. What I mean by that is literally just use decapitator here, just to give it some rough edges. There is a harpsichord in here, yes, Peak, and there's one from Native Instruments that I found that I'm using, because we haven't sampled one yet. Maybe we need to get on to do our Baroque orchestra or something, I don't know, but this is just one I found from, I think, the Contact Factory library. Okay, we don't want that higher one. I want more sort of swelling here. It's a bit lifeless. So really get up there. My CPU can't handle much as I'm working on the cinematic cue. Oh, is this in? I'm just just keeping up with this conversation. There we go. So something like that, I think. We're going to turn up these cymbals a bit. They're a bit quiet now. And then we've got some bits and pieces to add, but we're kind of getting on to have most of it. First I'm going to do, though, is this, right? These harpsichords sound too dry. So what I'm going to do is group them together into a group we can call harpsichord. There we go. Go over to our mixer, and then our group should be here. There it is. That's both our harpsichords there. So, yeah, what I'm going to do is add a little bit of room to this. We don't want to make it too reverby. We want to make it sound like it's in a space, buried a little bit in the mix. See how that gives us room? Without the room, it's going to sound too dry. Now, that may be too much. We'll see. I think it was actually fine. But without... everything should sound like it's in a room, right? So that's going to add a lot to make this start feeling like it's got real depth, I think. See how it fits in more now? And it's going to be exactly the same with these brushes, right? We have this little brush from Native Instruments. I think it's like the Abbey Road drums. It's cool. But that's just too dry. It sounds like it's been recorded. Well, it has been recorded close up, where it's supposed to sound like it's kind of in the same room as everything else. Sometimes close up works, you know, if you want certain sonic effects and things, but this is all supposed to sound kind of like it's in the same place. So a little bit of room will really help. Right? Maybe not quite that much, but maybe more like, oh, goodness me. There we go. Without. With. Because isn't that in context? Nice. Now we're going to start building this up. There are things that are missing that are easy to put in. First thing is a kind of white noisy cymbal sound. So there we go. So we're going to want that just here. Kind of quiet. But listen how much this adds. Make sure those synths don't sound too exposed. They sound a little bit kind of raw at the moment. With the white noise cymbals, they just bed in a bit more. And then we'll put some violas in there. And that'll really help just bed everything, I think. So it's not sounding too bad now. Close that down. Okay, so. Nice, and we can bring that down even more. Bring this one up a bit. I'm just gonna pan these a bit left and right. Give us a sense of space. I'm also going to just do this. I'm going to open this one up, and I'm just going to randomly move everything by a few ticks velocity-wise. Not velocity, sorry, tick-wise. So watch. If I got a simple thing here, see how it's moving everything? Just a few ticks. What that's going to do is add a bit of spatial separation, because it's going to be like two players playing something not exactly at the right time. So it just helped to make this sound a bit more. We'll do the same thing here, which are going to add a few ticks of kind of sort of randomness here, you know, and that'll just make everything sound less computery, if you like. Nice, and then we're just going to want, and I'm going to use Dolce for this, I think, so I think Dolce is sound cool. Just going to want, find Dolce, violas, probably the marcatos. Open them up, and we'll just use them. Oh, ignore that. That's because I still haven't updated this template. It's easy enough to fix. Ignore all that. This will come up now in a second. And we'll use these just to fill out. Oh, we want that there. Dolce, violas, marcato. Load up my actual Dolce library. And then we'll just use this to sort of emulate what the synths are doing, which I think will work nicely. And we may even put some harmony in this. I don't know if that happens in the original, but let's see. Let's see how it sounds. Nice. We don't want it to be too... There we go. Let's just do some harmony at the beginning. Let's just see if that works. No, I don't think we need it. We don't need it. We don't need it. I'm just going... doing it for the sake of it, I think. There we go. Maybe something like that. Let's have a little listen to that. Nice. We don't need that higher octave in the violas either, I don't think. So just wait for this to auto-save. So this has come together now a bit. I think, you know, it's not sounding too bad, so... Yeah, nice. Cool. One other thing I want to do here, listen to this, right? Everything here. Like this, down, and then a little bit of randomness on the time here. See how that's adding like a tiny little bit of this kind of blurry weirdness. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to take that out of there and maybe do it in Dolce instead. I think it'll be a little bit more subtle in Dolce. I think we have the Dolce spiccatos. Yeah, we do. There we go. So just there. Oh. There we go. Make sure they're pretty quiet. Nice together. Yeah, that's nice. We can even bring it up a bit here, I think, in Dolce. Because Dolce's got a little bit more kind of responsiveness in the velocities, so we can bring it up a bit. Cool. That's sounding quite nice. Cosmodium asks, how much RAM do I have? So recently, well, a few months ago, I went from 64 gigs to 128 gigs. So quite a lot of RAM now, which is good. But I work in a way, as you can see, where I disable most tracks and just enable the ones that I want to use. Cubase has a good find feature. So all my tracks are here. I can just find the ones I want and enable them. So I actually don't use tons of RAM. I'm rarely above 50, 60%, even with everything else going. Some people prefer to work another way where they load everything up and it's all good to go, or it's on like a V Pro machine or something. But I don't work that way personally. So I could probably work with 64 still, even maybe 32 sometimes. But I do like having the 128. You know, if I'm doing some kind of trailer thing and suddenly the tracks are getting up into the hundreds, then it's good to just know that you don't have to worry too much about it. Okay, let's get some reverb on these swells because they're sounding a bit dry at the moment. Do I ever hit 64? Yeah, sometimes on bigger projects, but not that much. In fact, we can probably, let me just open this up and see what we're doing here. So we're doing 41% memory at the moment. So yeah, pretty good, you know, on the whole. Again, because we're using this kind of, well, some of the Audio Imperial libraries are very, very RAM effective as well, but we're also just using this technique of enabling what we need. That's better. That's going to help them bed in a bit. And now on the trombones, we'll just do... do some swells like this. Get these right. Oh, that's our low brass again. God. I think it sounded like trombones. Trombones, there we go. Yeah, that's better. Do them an octave higher and do some swells here. Cool. Still a bit too loud on these trombones. Really don't need them to be coming up there. And also a little bit of reverb on some of this stuff. So just some room, I think. We want to keep this pretty dry, but not too dry. I think a little bit more reverb will help. We'll pop that on the trumpets too. I don't think we need it on the horns. What have we got? The low brass here as well, which we are using. There we go. That should just help make everything sound a little bit more. In terms of storage, so I've got three internal SSDs and one external SSD. The internals, I think, are all terabytes. I think, if I remember, maybe 2 terabytes, and then the external one is a 4 terabyte, and they're all pretty much full now. Be very fortunate to have a lot of samples, but that's sometimes a bit of a blessing and a curse. But yeah, so I've got 4 drives. They're full of various different samples. Okay, let me I'm just going to use, I think, the ensemble patches for the Woodwinds. I don't think we need to make the woodwind orchestration too precise, but there are some things that we need to do. So woodwinds, oh, that's brass. Woodwinds full ensemble. We'll use the sustain and probably the trills as well. And I think we can just use the onboards. So, okay, the first thing we want to do is add reverb. Let's call that full ensemble. Full ensemble sustain. We're going to want to copy these basses over, I think. These are each going to add a nice woody kind of layer. Or at least they should do. Is that too low? Yeah, so, yeah. In fact, no. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put them back to where they were. I'm going to get a nice contrabass sound by extending the range here. Doesn't matter if it's not entirely realistic. Nice. And I'm going to duplicate them here. This. Let's have a listen to that. Nice, yeah. And then we're going to really just duplicate a lot of different things to this Woodwinds. So I'm going to duplicate those violas. We'll take them down an octave, like that. Sounded good. And then come in here, duplicate this over. That should sound pretty good. And we won't use the shorts, I don't think. Even though the sustain sounds a bit weird, I think that'll work better. Nice, yeah, the M2s are really good options. I think they're very, very fast drives, so pretty good for sample libraries and things. I do have an M2 storage space in my computer, so maybe I'll just throw an M2 in there at some point. But yeah, they can work very well. Okay, so that sounds pretty good. We're going to duplicate that and get some trills going. Now again, Danny Elfman, Tim Burton, these flourishes, these trills really work very nicely. So I'm going to copy the trills that we have here. And we may do these chordally and not just single notes. I'll show you what I mean. But they're all going to be halftone, I think, because halftone is more tension-filled. Whole tone sounds a bit happier. Right? Sounds a bit happy, joyful. Halftone sounds a little bit more sort of dark. We're going for dark here, right? This is a pretty dark score, but kind of in a funny, fun way. So. Nice. Let's just see how that sounds in combination. I think that'll sound pretty good. And then we'll do a little sort of fade, like not a fade, but like a little swell up here, and then back to. What is this actual chord here? Let me, rather than trying to work this out, I should probably just see what the chord is. So it is A flat minor. That makes sense. Yeah, that sounds cool. Right, that's a lot of kind of life to this, doesn't it? You know, it's So I think, just see again what these chords are. So B minor to D minor, very, very Danny Elfman-esque sort of movement there. Chromatic medians again. See if that works. Might be a bit too intense, but let's just try it. Probably a bit too intense. You know, that might work though. Sort of bring it in more like that. Yeah, nice. And we're going to bring that out. Yeah, but and then just fade that out a bit quicker. We sort of need it gone by maybe the start of that third beat. There we go. Same thing here, a little bit of room sound for this. Actually got a fair amount, but I think we can do with a bit more. Maybe not quite that much. Okay, and then we're going to beef some of this up and we're almost done then, I think. I think more from the choir in the beginning. A bit longer. They're more into the second phrase there, like that. Right, let's fix these cymbal rolls up. They're sounding a little bit lost now. Very often you have to put a bit of high end on cymbal rolls just to get them to cut through, and because they need to be a bit more exciting. Kind of there, less of this, and then a little bit of room. It's going to help them just sort of sound a bit more, well, in the room, I guess. Oh, thank you, Cosmodium. Yeah, it's come together pretty nice. I think a few more little bits and we'll have something decent going. Cool. Just want them to be quieter at the end there. And you know what? We may even not even have them. We may just have them on the horns for the end part. No, I think we'll keep on the trombones, but just quieter. Yeah, and same thing, not that much. Nothing needs to come to that level. Just there, like that. Cosmodium asks, what's my Valhalla room preset? It's nothing special. Let me just show you guys. Let's come across. I've got my Valhalla room here. There it is. I've got a EQ in the beginning just to take off the low end and a bit of high, just to clean it up going into the reverb. And then it's the large room, 15 millisecond pre-delay, 1.9 second decay. Everything else is left pretty much the same. I don't think I've really tinkered with any of this. So it's almost like a default preset, just maybe a tiny little bit of sort of change to the decay size and the pre-delay. But everything else is pretty much straight out of the box, I think. Okay. Now, what I think we need to do is this. Yeah, you know what? We almost need like a kind of deliberately fake brass sound, right? I'm going to call it synth brass. We need to find something that's almost a bit cheesy. I think we need to layer in some silly kind of sounds in here. Hey, no problem, Cosmodium. Yeah, you know, I can show you guys or tell you on the Discord anything you want to know as well in terms of presets, but there's nothing. We need to find like a. It could be that one minus maybe the sort of decay effects. So maybe no delay. That could work. Let me just pop this in. Let's get these trombones. Right. It's got some synths in here that are just subtle, but I think help to add a little bit of mischievous and mischievousness, I should say. Not this low stuff, I don't think. It's all the kind of higher stuff. See, it's kind of funny and comical. And we really need to get rid of whatever that decay is. That's not going to work. That. And then just take out some of the midiness, bit MIDI, as in mid-range. Something like that. It's not perfect, but that'll kind of do as a layer that kind of just adds a little bit. Yeah, and at the end, we just need to do one more thing. I think we need a kind of like a kind of ghostly synth, right? Just at the end, I think. Just something kind of fun around here. So let's see if we can find something in photosynthesis. Yeah, let's do photosynthesis. We got some kind of ghostly synths in photosynthesis. Let's just find something that kind of works. It's more almost like a kind of hollowy sort of atmosphere pad. Nothing too dramatic. So it's always got to be a little bit kind of funny, you know. Find comb filtering. A saw wave done the right way can we get really close to emulating real strings or bass. It's true, yeah. I've got phase plant, and phase plant can often do really good emulations of that kind of stuff. That might work. Probably not the perfect sound, but, you know, we're getting to the last 10-15 minutes. Let's just use it. That'll do. That'll do. We need sort of more of a ghostly sort of choiry sound, but that's fine for now. I think that'll do, yeah. And you know what? We're going to combine that with... Here's what I'm going to do. Copy that. Bring this up here. I'm going to duplicate this. And we're going to do a kind of ghostly pad as well. Here. Let's just see what we've got. Turn this down a bit. I'm just going to add like a black hole or something. That might work. Together they're going to sound sort of more ghostly, I think. So is it that one? That'll do. It's not perfect, but it'll do, I think. So let's see where we're at. Let's see if we can add one or two more things. Hello, Sharon. Nice. All of this can come down. It's just too much. And I actually think all those chords can be added to a synth. Where's that synth we made there? Just more atmosphere. See if it works. No, that wasn't the right place. It's going to be here. There we go. Cool. Let's have a listen to that synth again. This could be an octave higher, I think. Sounds a bit silly now, which is good, I think. Okay, a couple of more things. Cerberus, clicks and clacks. We're going to want some clicks and clacks. It's all this stuff here, I think, at the end. Oh, wrong track. There. Duplicate that down. Let's find those clicks and clacks. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, nice. And then same thing here. Okay, cool. I think that's going to add. Yeah, Cosmodia, we could definitely do that, where we do a bit of a nice stream sort of breakdown of how we maybe do a track breakdown. They can be louder at the end, I think. That'll do for now. Now we just need, I think, Cerberus, some low drums in here. This will just add a lot of kind of weight. Find them again. Nice. Low enough. Obviously not that. Maybe something like that. just see. Maybe more like that. Let's just try that one. Yeah, that's better. That's the one, I think. Yeah, but just quiet. We really don't want to. It's just adding a bit of a like foot stomp to everything. And you know what? We just want a bit of reverb on the strings as well, don't we? They're sounding a tiny bit too dry now. Maybe a little bit more room. Touch more hole. Definitely want to drain them out. Cool. And then I'll carry on those foot stomps again. Nice. Something like that. We just need these. And then we need to do a little bit with the Woodwinds again. Octave up here, like that. That sounds better. And what are our chords here? We've got D minor, B flat major, the A major. Nice. Just put that on the bit higher up, like this. That. Something like that, I think, and then let's try even these as chords. Let's just see if that works. Take down the intensity. Maybe not quite. Maybe not quite. You win some, you lose some, right? That's not really working. Maybe do octaves instead. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Yeah, these are very nice, spooky, fun chords. I think we go down. We don't want to hear it much on those two. Yeah, I think maybe not these low ones. We can also have this on the choir as well, why not? There we go, like that. Okay, cool. That's coming along. It's a bit weird at the end. We really want them to ramp up like that. Nice, and same in these brushes. There we go, just give it a bit more of an emphasis. That will do. Now there's a couple of things. There's a really bizarre sound effect at the beginning. Let's just try and add something. We're not going to get what's in the piece. It's like a really weird metallic-y sort of crazy sound, but it's right here. Let's just see, you know what, we might be able to find something like in Talos horns or something like that. Maybe let's try the talos bends. I don't know if we're going to find something, but you know, these might be. I think it's just too intense. Let's see if we got anything else from talos that's going to work. It's a sort of slightly more fun sound than that. If not, maybe we'll just leave them for today. Come back to them. These are all so hybridy. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, let's just listen to what we've got and then see if we can do one or two more things. Oh, and let's just do a quick master on this, super quick. I mean, it's not really going to be a master. Just show you a couple of things that I can do. Come up here. I'm going to grab, I like to use this. Oh, if it's going to load. There it is. And I'll just use this really simple preset just to add a bit of kind of dynamism to this. It helps a lot, this kind of thing. And then we use an inflator as well. It's pretty good just to get some basic sort of limiting and some excitement. And just, this is not really a master. It's an insult to mastering engineers, but... Nice. One more thing I want to do. This will add a lot, I think. Just a lot of nice sort of fun textures here. I think that'd be cool. And then this cello at the beginning. And you know what? Obvious. Why didn't I think of this before? Tubular bells, right? Tubular bells will just help make this sound so cool in these places. So let's just find our root chords here. I don't know if they're in this. I feel like they probably are, just because Danny Elfman uses them so much to kind of emphasize these big moments. Let's find... Nice. Listen, this is just going to add a lot of kind of fun. Cool. We'll just get a quick timpani roll in at that point. It's going to help us just add a bit of excitement. Again, I don't think it's in the original, but this is a mock-up and we're just trying to, you know, help the instruments along where we can. Ooh, let's use a roll, like a pre-made roll. What do they sound like? Maybe like a 2-second one. Yeah, that's going to be cool. What key do we want? To the A flat. Cool. So nice. Let's just time this in, make sure we're in the right place. A little bit later than that. We want it to happen on this 15 bang beat. One more, I think, and then we'll just make sure that timpani has a bit of reverb. Otherwise, it's going to sound a little bit kind of exposed. Get some nice room in there. tiny little bit of hall as well, because it's at the back of the room. I want to kind of emulate that more. So let's have a listen to that in isolation. Thanks, Brandon. I'm glad you're liking it. It's been good fun. Nice. Maybe just... And then I'm going to boost sort of the lows a little bit. I think that will work. Just make sure that's in the right... Yeah, nice. Even lower than that, I think. Cool, just a tiny bit of room for these. Let's just do it like this. That's better. Just a little bit of a mic position to get more emphasis on the sort of far mics. Cool, and I'm just going to use a little bit of multiband compression on the brass, just to sort of dip some of the mids a tiny bit when it gets a bit boomy and bassy. Well, not really bassy, but like low mid, sort of rich, but just a tiny bit. I like all the kind of low mid stuff, but let's just go back a little bit and have a listen. I think that will work. Tiny little bit of... Oh, we've already got reverb on them, so no. Back to our main view. Okay, I think we can call this done. There are a couple of effects that I should have added, but that would just be window dressing. That's all fine. The bulk of it's in, and it's not sounding too bad. We haven't really mixed it, but we've done a tiny little kind of mastering at the end. So let's see the finished result. Yeah, not too bad. For a couple of hours, I think it came together okay. You know, need a bit of a mix and some arrangement and stuff, and a couple of things that we would definitely fix up, as always, though, right? But for a couple of hours work, it's not sounding too bad. And that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that one, so I hope you guys did too. And there were a few tips in there that you can use. We will head back to just chatting and wrap up in a couple of minutes, and then we should say goodbye. Okay, there we go. So there she is looking at us, Miss Wednesday Addams. Very intense. I haven't actually seen season 2 yet, but you know, I do like Tim Burton. I mean, I've grown up with Tim Burton stuff, and you know, no one does that kind of kooky gothic horror better than him. And of course, Danny Elfman, the way he scores things. And maybe we'll do, you know, maybe at some point we'll do like a deeper dive into this in terms of the harmonies and the way that the chords put together. It's all kind of simple techniques, but they're really, really effective. And yeah, it's good fun to do this stuff. And I actually think Audio Imperial libraries work really well for this as well. Things like Nucleus, Araya, they're a little bit drier, but not too dry. They're not bone dry, but they're just in these slightly smaller sort of scoring stages, which is exactly the kind of sound that Danny Elfman really likes. That more intimate, sort of close to the mic kind of sound, and then you can just pop a little bit of reverb in there if you want to give them a bit of space and breath. But that kind of intimacy is really a hallmark of the Danny Elfman sound. Everything sounds like it's quite closely mic'd, quite kind of in your face, I guess. Season 2 is sick. That's cool. I will give it a watch. Yeah, as I said, I did enjoy season 1. So, and you know, Tim Burton's always good fun for that kind of kooky horror stuff. I haven't seen any of it yet. Actually, maybe I'll check it out. Don't watch TV very much. Me neither. I hardly ever watch TV, ironically. But I probably will give this a watch now. It was good fun going back over this. Cosmodium, thank you so much for the stream, madam. So much to learn from you these Tuesdays. Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad you're finding them useful. They're always really good fun. I love hanging out with you guys. So thanks as always for joining us, Cosmodium. It's always great to hear your questions and, you know, what you're up to. And yeah, just cool to hang out with some composers for a couple of hours. So yeah, this was Wednesday. Really cool. I will put the MIDI for this in our Discord at some point in the not too distant future. Regarding those Cubase project files, I think we will be able to get them to you at some point. Exactly when and how, I'm not sure. But if you're not on our Discord, do join that, because that's where we post MIDI files, and that's where eventually we'll at least give you the info on how to get the Cubase files if we can make those available. But we will try and make that work for you guys. Next week we will be back. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing. You could make Stranger Things if you didn't already. That's a really good shout, actually. There's a new season coming out soon, right? So maybe we'll do something around then for Stranger Things. And as always, yeah, if you guys have any you know, suggestions like Pecan Records just did, do let us know, because we will listen, and I think Stranger Things would be a great shout. Would you be open to doing more trailer style streams? Yes, definitely. A lot of people have asked for that, and I think we've got some cool stuff on that front as well. So yeah, when there's things to let you know about the trailer thing, we will let you know. But yes, we definitely want to do more trailer stuff. It's a great area of, you know, the music industry and a great musical genre, and there's lots of cool stuff to learn there. So hopefully there will be some good stuff in that realm in the not too distant future. So do watch this space. Next week we'll be back. I'm not sure what we will be doing, but it'll be something fun. And we shall be here for the foreseeable future on Tuesdays, I think. Ben Salisbury Annihilation. That's a very cool idea. Yeah, that would be a very good fun one as well. Yeah, it'd be cool to do some more interesting, you know, like left field kind of music, and maybe move out of the orchestral realm and look at some of the other things we've got. You know, we've got some great stuff in Jaeger that's very sound design driven. We've got some great synths in photosynthesis. A lot of cool stuff in Artifact Reanimate as well. It'd be cool to break some of that stuff out. And of course, that would be great for the trailer stuff as well. Trailer music would definitely be good to look into, because, yeah, as you said, Brandon, you're spot on. It's so deceptive. I was literally working on something last night and just sat there thinking, there's so many things that I've learned over the years from other great composers that have been, you know, kind enough to teach me. And it's a real... You hear trailer music, it sounds so simple in some ways, and in some ways it is, but it's not simple to make, because finding that simplicity and making everything sound huge but also balanced and kind of you know, fit together is such a task. And yeah, I was looking at a project last night I was working on and just thinking, oh, it's crazy how much you have to do just to get this to sound, you know, where it needs to be. So we will definitely look at some trailer stuff. Halo theme would be amazing. Yes, some more game stuff I think would be cool in general. It'd be great to do Halo. We could also look at, you know, Call of Duty, and then some old, you know, classics like Zelda and Final Fantasy. I mean, there's endless music to mine from there. Would love to do some Final Fantasy 7 and 8 stuff. And then some modern stuff as well. There's so much stuff from, you know, God of War and goodness knows what else. But we will get around to it all. I mean, this is the great thing, right? Endless resources to draw upon. So yeah, definitely keep your suggestions coming. We will listen to all of these and anything that's in the Discord as well, and we will definitely get around to some of these. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure that you do, because we are posting videos pretty much every week now, and lots of shorts and things too, so it's pretty active. And we recently did one on Harry Potter, which was good fun to make, and hopefully has some good tips in there. And yes, Final Fantasy would be cool. I definitely agree, Brandon. I've been thinking about that one for a while, so we'll maybe try and get one of those done at some point. I could definitely do a mock-up of Libere Fatale. That would be incredible. I reckon the chorus would sound great on that too. But we'll do something with Final Fantasy at some point, I'm sure. So yeah, I think if you're not subscribed to the Discord, the link is in the description below. Come on, it's free to join. It's a great community. It's building. We're nearly up to 200 members now. When we started these streams pretty much a year ago, I think, maybe, on Twitch, we didn't have a Discord, and we were maybe getting 7 or 8 people with us or something. Now we're averaging way more than that, and we've got nearly 200 members on our Discord, so it's a real growing community. So thanks so much, guys, for making it what it is. It's growing every week, and it's very cool. Battlefield 6 would be cool. One Win in Danger would be cool. Oh, there's so many cool things. We could just go on forever, right? But we will definitely do some of these. There's so many game classics that we're yet to mock up. So maybe we'll look at that next week. Maybe we'll do something game related. I'm not sure. Okay, cool. I'm going to wrap up because I'm just waffling now, as I always do at the end of streams. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope this was fun. Do check the Discord in the next few days or so. This will be on there. And do join us next week. And as I said, if you're not in the Discord, join up. And if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, join up. Whatever you're up to for the rest of the day, evening, morning, wherever you are, have a great one. Happy composing. Do share with us anything that you make. We always love to hear. And until next week, have a good one. And I will